Morning. I'd say it's a sign of success for UK tech. Private equity, large private equity, is really the exit of choice for tech companies. It's taken over to a great extent from public markets, and to have a substantial player of the prestige and capability of Thoma Bravo acquire a UK company it's a sign of success.
Yeah, some would say, however, that success is then based on somebody else now after it's built so much in the foreground and its base being built in the UK ultimately, and then just it heads off elsewhere. None of the tech companies built in the UK stay. And why is that? Why can it not necessarily have the same level of success here?
Well, the companies do stay in the UK. The ownership transfers to overseas, but actually sometimes it comes to UK private equity as well. So there's a West Coast company called Orbit Board that was just acquired by HG in the billions in recent weeks. So that's a UK acquirer of a substantial US company that would be going public. So it's really about private equity, and the underlying investors from private equity, they're international investors. So many of Thoma Bravo's investors would be UK or European investors.
So do we just have to accept then that that's pretty much what's going to happen? You have a somewhat, maybe not even necessarily a market leader, but a really big growth tech startup story in the UK. It's more than likely not going to stay.
It's more than likely going to go to a private equity player, and perhaps when it's really substantial, perhaps 10 billion plus in value, go public, and then it's more likely to go public in the US.
Yeah, I mean, tech startups, or maybe even AI startups, should I be more specific, in London then, raising over $3 billion then in 2023, according to Tech Week. Is that sort of making sense for you, in the sense that you have that significant growth? None of them, however, go on to challenge the big behemoths. And I know AI is maybe not in its infancy, but not necessarily at its most mature stage either.
Well, companies from the UK and Europe do go on to challenge the behemoths. Darktrace is a good example of that, which raised private capital in successive rounds in the UK before going public, and ultimately, depending on the vote, getting sold to Thoma Bravo. So in Europe, actually, there was an enormous amount of venture capital in 2021 during the pandemic era boom. It exceeded 100 billion for the first time. That's dropped by about 50% to the amount in 2023, and that's the typical bust after boom cycle. So things have stabilized. Now, since that correction took place, and actually there are a lot of emerging companies that are really attractive in AI, in cybersecurity, in vertical software, in fintech. It's a hive of activity.
Yeah, some would say that there's so much regulation, though, in whether it be the UK and Europe per se as well. Is Europe as open as it purports to be when you take a look at some of these companies then that are necessarily going private equity, who are maybe stateside, etc.? Is the UK as open?
Yes, the UK is as open. The difference is that the European market is more fragmented, because of course the US market is much larger. So most companies that are international, that have international markets, will need to focus on the US as the substantial leading global market.
Yeah.